Welcome to this meeting of the Maidenhead Development Management Committee on Wednesday, the 15th of May, 2024. My name is Sian Martin and I am chairing this meeting. This meeting has been held in person and via Zoom and streamed live to the public on YouTube. I remind all attendees that participation in the meeting indicates consent to the audio and video being streamed live, and acknowledgement that after the meeting it will continue to be available in the public domain. Firstly, it would be useful if all panel members and officers could introduce themselves so that the public are aware of who is in this meeting and the role they are undertaking. So I'm Sian Martin, if we could just go clockwise.
Adrian White, the Assistant Director of Planning.
So, Councillor Hill, I'm a voting member of the panel.
Councillor Maureen Hunt, voting member of the panel.
Councillor Leal. Councillor Gert Singh, voting member of the panel.
Voting member of the panel.
Councillor Gary Reeves, voting member of the panel.
Councillor Kashmir Singh, voting member of the panel.
Mikey Lloyd, Democratic Service Officer, and I'll be clerking tonight's meeting.
Thank you. There's no one online, is there?
Helena is online, yes.
Sorry?
Helena has joined us online, yes.
Okay, to introduce.
Helena, if you'd like to introduce yourself to the panel.
Helena Stevenson, Principal Lawyer and Legal Advisor to the panel this evening.
Thank you. I request that meeting participants do not speak unless I specifically invite you to do so. Once I have invited you to speak, before you do so, please state your name and the capacity in which you are speaking if appropriate. I will also ask officers to speak at appropriate times. If any individual attempts to disrupt this meeting, I am able to use my powers in the Constitution to adjourn the meeting or have the individual removed. We will now start on the agenda items. Firstly, do we have any apologies for absence?
No apologies for absence received, Chair.
And agenda item number 2, do we have any declarations of interest? Councillor Briar.
Hi, just wanted to say that I have visited the site with the officer.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Thank you.
No. That brings me on to agenda item 3, which is the minutes. Are we happy to sign those off? Okay, thank you.
So, sorry, I think
Councillor
on
Singh.
the minutes, I think there was a.
Yes, that's correct. It's on the minutes. It's on,
GC.
yeah, which one's cash? Yeah, they're all saying Councillor Gert Singh. One was actually cash missing. It's still saying Gert Singh on the one I have in front of me.
Chair, I believe is the correct. There was an amended version, but
There was an amended.
yes. So that is the correct.
Yes, so the one online is amended. So
Yes, that's the correct one.
okay, so we're happy with that correction. Thank you. So that brings me on to agenda item 4, which is the planning application 23/03209, Briar Cottage and Holmwood Briar Glen in Cookham. If I can hand over to Maria for her presentation, thank you.
The application site relates to a parcel of land located at the southern end of Briar Glen, an unadopted residential road accessed from High Road in Cookham. The site comprises of 2 residential dwellings, Holmwood, a chalet bungalow located on the eastern side of the site, and Briar Cottage, a single-storey property located on the western side. The site can be seen within the location plan on your screen. To the north of the site is a single-storey residential dwelling known as Carndale. To the south are 2-storey residential properties located on Course Road with garages and a road, Peyton Gardens, to the east and west respectively. The application seeks planning permission for the construction of 3 residential dwellings with associated driveway, parking, and landscaping following the demolition of the 2 existing dwellings and associated structures on the site. To the eastern side of the site, an attached 2-bedroom property, plot 1, is proposed. To the west of plot 1, a pair of 2-bedroom semi-detached dwellings are proposed. This slide shows the proposed dwellings and the site layout. The proposed scheme is an amendment following the previously refused proposal under planning application 22/01452-4. This slide shows the proposed site plan in comparison with the refused plan. The proposed plan is on your right, the refused plan is on your left. The proposed scheme has minor additions and amendments to the design of plot 1. The width of the parking and turning points have been reduced, moving the access road and turning area 1 meter away from the northern boundary with Carndale, and providing additional landscaping and greenery to be placed along the northern boundary. The size of plots 2 and 3 have been reduced to overcome the concerns identified by the previous refusal. This slide shows the changes to plot 2 and 3 compared to the previous refusal. Plot 2 has been positioned 6.5 meters from the southern boundary with 11 to 14 Goss Road. This is 3 meters further away from the boundary compared to the refused scheme. Plot 3 is positioned 3.2 meters from the northern boundary with Carndale. This will increase the distance between the northern boundary by 0.3 meters when compared to the refused scheme. This slide shows the site cross-section plans. The red dotted line highlights the shape of plots 2 and 3 of the refused scheme for comparison. As previously mentioned, no changes are proposed to the shape and location of plot 1. This slide shows the plans and elevations of plot 1. When compared to the refused scheme, the design of plot 1 has been amended with the introduction of pitched roofs over the gable windows, bay windows at ground floor level, and the roof light on the rear rooftop. This slide shows the plans and elevations of plot 2 and 3. And again, this slide shows the elevation plans of plot 2 and 3 compared to the elevation plans of the refused scheme. Moving on to some photographs, this slide shows the existing access of the sites. Their location have been highlighted on the location plan on the screen. These photographs show plot 1 and the views towards the neighboring properties along Gorse Road. Finally, these photographs show plot 2 and 3 when viewed from the rear gardens of the Gross Road properties and the views from the side towards these neighboring properties. In summary, the proposed development by reason of its internal access and layout and lack of supporting information is contrary to a number of development plan policies as set out in section 10 of the committee report. As such, the application is therefore recommended for refusal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Maria. So we have 3 speakers on this agenda item. The first speaker, can I call up, is Estelle Godfrey. You want to sit at the desk there and press the right button when you're ready. You have 5 minutes.
Good evening. I'm speaking on behalf of our community who live in both Gorse Road and Briar Glen. I want to start by thanking the planning officers for recommending 5 solid reasons for refusal. However, we would like to raise additional concerns. The current planning application proposals have not materially changed and in fact are worse than the previous appeals scheme in that the proposed 2-storey houses on plots 2 and 3 will be bulkier than the chalet style bungalows previously refused. The mass of these houses across the site remains unacceptable. The two-storey houses will still appear cramped given the siting close to the steep bank on the south side of the site. The small gap retained will be filled with parked cars and hard surfacing, thereby reducing the spacious and verdant feel. Plot 3 is now closer to the steep bank on the western end and will lead to a cramped feel. The front garden of Plot 1 has been reduced in comparison to the appeal scheme, resulting in less space for planting, and the front door almost opens onto the access road. Furthermore, Plot 1 is in an elevated, prominent position. The two-storey house will be perceived as being taller and bulkier, resulting in a scale that would be out of character with the neighbouring single-storey bungalows. The layout reserved for turning in front of plots 2 and 3 in the appeal scheme, with cars tucked away on the southern boundary, is now replaced with a large expanse of parked cars and turning area that will alter the landscape directly in front of plots 2 and 3 and the site overall. These changes bring vehicles into prominent view, spanning a significant width of the site with very limited space for meaningful structural planting. The proposals will considerably reduce the spacious and landscape feel of this mature garden site, as it will be dominated by houses and parked cars, resulting in the loss of mature trees and shrubs that have been part of this mature garden for some time. The proposed planting is inadequate with restricted space to grow. Meaningful planting is required to retain the established landscape. Given the position of the retained trees to the houses, particularly at the western end of the site, this is likely to lead to pressure in the future to remove mature trees because of fear of sudden collapse and from nuisance such as debris, fall or leaf sap. The loss of these mature trees would damage the established wider landscape of Briar Glen as they are highly visible. We consider that the proposed development has not addressed the concerns raised by the planning inspector and will be discordant and harmfully out of place due to the cramped appearance, bulk and mass along with a layout dominated by parked cars and hard surfacing with little space for meaningful replacement planting. Importantly, since the appeal, the bar has been raised for developers under the NPPF of December 2023. There is a greater emphasis on the importance of high quality design and the creation of beautiful places. The development falls substantially short of this requirement of planning policy. As neighbouring residents, we are concerned about the impact of the development on our living conditions from loss of privacy. Noting the new skylight in the rear elevation of Plot 1, which was not part of the appeal scheme design, the new position of the window to Plot 3, it is also considered that the new bulk, mass and scale of the two-storey houses will result in a harmful change to the outlook and light we currently experience from within our homes and gardens. We are also concerned for the living conditions of the future occupants of the proposed houses. In terms of the indoor space, national standards set out that restricted height floor space should be discounted along with a deduction of 2 square meters for built-in storage per bedroom. We consider that the houses would be below the national standard, even though the gardens to the houses may meet the size standard. The gardens will be overshadowed, oppressive and hemmed in. Particularly the gardens to plots 2 and 3 will be taken up by a well-treed steep bank at the western end of the site. In finishing, I would like to thank the committee for taking the time to listen to our additional concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Estelle Godfrey. Could I call the next speaker, which is Councillor Bill Perry, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Councillor Bill Perry, Cookham Parish Council. We would like respectfully to agree with the officer's recommendation for you, which is pleasant for all concerned. But we would like to suggest that the officer's recommendation should be supplemented, and it should be, this application should be opposed and rejected for further reasons. I'd like to take you back, if I may, briefly to the inspector's report on the previous application, bearing in mind that this is the third application that has been made on this site. The applicant has been, in a sense, playing dare with the authority and putting in a larger, then a gradually slightly improved, and then a gradually slightly improved application. In his decision, at paragraph 9, on the last application, the inspector said that this would appear as an unacceptable mass of development. He went on to say that the proposed development would appear unduly cramped on the site, would not sit comfortably in its surroundings, and would undermine the existing spacious character. And as a result, plots 2 and 3 would appear as discordant features that would look harmfully out of place. And he then explained in paragraph 12 the 4 reasons why he thought in terms of policy QP3, paragraph 7.1 and 7.6 of the BWG, and paragraphs of the Cookham Village Design Statement and the NPPF that made the application unacceptable. Our contention is that although we accept that changes have been made to this application, they are inadequate and not good enough, bluntly, to counteract those remarks. In our view, this still represents an overdevelopment of this site. The fact is that the applicant is attempting to put 3 dwellings on a site where there are currently, we would say 1, we understand the officers agree, 2 dwellings on this site. And accordingly, what is being proposed is in effect an overdevelopment. And we do not believe that the changes that have been made are sufficient adequately to reduce the mass, in particular on plots 2 and 3, to an acceptable amount. I would respectfully direct you to paragraph 1020 of the officer's report, where it is expressly accepted that the buildings at plots 2 and 3 will be 0.3 of a metre higher than the previous plan. And if anything is going to add to the apparent mass of the buildings, and to the detriment to the neighbours and the site's visual amenity, adding to the height in that way is precisely one of the things that will do it. We profoundly disagree, therefore, with paragraph 1014 of the officer's report that says that the amendments are adequate. I should also point out, if I may, that we agree with paragraph 29 of the officer's report, and we would ask you to reject the application on that basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Perry. Can I call the final speaker on this item, and that's Councillor Mark Howard, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and I hope to be brief, as there's been better speakers than me make a better point than me. I would like us to agree with the officer. The obvious statement is that the redevelopment is massively out of scale with the site. It's too big, it's too bulky, it's too large, it's also too high. It is going to create an overlooking situation into the rear of many other houses, possibly creating a second building line along the back of several other gardens. I think is that when we're looking at this is that the dominance of the amount of car parking that's going to be placed in the site, the hard standing, the access into the site for emergency vehicles, everything just seems too small for what is being put forward. So we believe it's out of character, out of scale, and it just should be refused. So I hope you'll be able to support us on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Howard. So I can now open this one up to the floor. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak? Councillor Briar.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much. I have called this in. Reason for my calling, because it's a very sensitive site. I would also like to thank the officer for taking note of my calling. Only one thing missed out in the report was the appearance and character, which the officer did not mention. The site, this will appear unduly cramped site. It will not sit comfortably within its surroundings. It will undermine the existing spacious character. The site will be cramped. The buildings would be of a scale and mass would look out of character for the site. It will have adverse impact on the character appearance of the area and would conflict with policies QP1, QP3, NR3 of the local plan. The proposal at odds with Cookham VDS, G6.1, G6.2, G6.4, G6.6 and G6.16. I will stop there and let the others speak. Then I'll come back. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Briar. Can I go to councillor Hill, please?
Thank you very much, Chairman. As everyone says, this, or as has been alluded to, this application has been before us before in 2022. I draw councillors' attention to the officer's reasons for refusal, and the dominant one there for me is coming from the highways team with the access and egress from the site, and in particular the objection from the fire authority, which is further down in the report under the comments from consultees. It's exceptionally rare, Chairman, for the fire authority to object to a planning application, and I would say that they do that with good reason, and they wouldn't do it without good reason. So I would give that objection significant weight. And there is also other mention of emergency services possibly struggling to get to this site in an emergency. If we look further down, there's a lack of a sustainability statement, ecological report update hasn't been done, biodiversity enhancements are not there, and the absence of a flood risk assessment. These are all reports that are very, very standard and should have been done. I take Councillor Bill Perry's point. It's in section 5.5 of the report. It's taller than it was before. I was on the panel before, and then the massing and scale was deemed inappropriate, looking at the surrounding, particularly the estate adjoining it in something gardens. I always forget the name of that place. But I've stood there and looked at it and imagined it, and it would be too big. In fact, it's a third of a metre taller, so I'm not quite sure what's gone on there. Looking at 5.5, there's any number of changes to the site, and in my view, they have not been beneficial, particularly changes around the access, as are clearly indicated by the fire authority. So I'm going to move officer recommendation because I think it's very serious when the fire authority objects, and move recommendation to refuse this proposal. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you. Could I go to councillor Walters, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. No, I will agree. I agree with what the officer's objections are, but I would add to ones that unfortunately she's missed out. I remember this application. I think I went to the site actually last time, 2022. And of course, this is no better. It is the massing, the effect of carriage on that particular area, loss of open space and so on. And I would add the condition, the grounds of refusal on grounds of character on that QP3 of BLP, and of course reinforced in the latest NPPF in December last year, which it's amazing. I always think when I see it, I've never seen beautiful in planning parlance, but it's supposed to look beautiful now, and it certainly doesn't. It certainly wouldn't look beautiful if this one had. So I'm quite happy to go along with the officer's recommendation.
I go to the vote.
So we have a motion on the table. It is to refuse in line with officer recommendations with the conditions outlined in the report, proposed by Councillor Hill, seconded by Councillor Briar. The vote is for refusal, against refusal, or abstaining from the vote. With that, Councillor Briar. Councillor Hill. Councillor Hunt. Councillor Martin. Councillor Reeves. Councillor Gertz Singh. Councillor Kashmir Singh. Councillor Waters. That's unanimous, Chair. The motion carries.
Thank you. So that's the end of that agenda item. Brings me on to the final agenda item tonight, which is agenda item number 5, which is the appeals. Are we happy with those? Agreed. Thank you. In that case, that's the